Welcome back to The Explainer. Okay, today we are looking at what just might be the ultimate historical bottleneck. We're doing a structured deep dive into a single year that completely rewired a nation's DNA. Yep, we're talking about 1066 and the unbelievable legacy of William the Conqueror. So get comfortable and let's unravel this incredible story together.
So look at this quote. How did one single battle change the destiny of an entire nation forever? I mean, it's a massive claim, isn't it? But as we'll see in our source material today, it is absolutely no exaggeration. Okay, let's dive into this. Because to actually understand the England we know today, its laws, its castles, even the very language I'm using to speak to you right now, we have to understand the sheer force of this one historical collision.
Here is our roadmap for today. We're going to look at ancient Britain's early invaders, the crisis of 1066, the Battle of Hastings, the Norman transformation, and finally, the road to modernity. Think of today's journey kind of like an hourglass. We'll start wide, narrow down to the crucial bottleneck of 1066, and then expand back out.
All right, Section 1. Ancient Britain's early invaders, Early Britain.
Now, before we can appreciate how William changed everything, we got to establish what exactly he was conquering. And honestly, early England was defined by relentless waves of people claiming the land for themselves. We're starting wide at the top of our hourglass here. Thousands of years ago, we had Celtic tribes living in small communities, leaving behind remarkable monuments like Stonehenge. Then boom, 43 AD, the Romans invade under Emperor Claudius. They bring massive infrastructure, building roads, forts, and a little trading outpost called Londinium, which of course grew into the global capital you know as London today. They held on for nearly 400 years. Once they left, the Anglo-Saxons arrived from Northern Europe, laying down the early foundations of the culture. And then, of course, Viking warriors from Scandinavia start raiding and settling. The big takeaway here, England was already a patchwork quilt of conquerors way before 1066.
Moving on to Section 2, the crisis of 1066, a political vacuum.
Okay, we are now entering the narrowest part of our historical hourglass. We're zooming in on a very specific, incredibly tense political vacuum. Just two foundational steps set this up. Step 1, over in northern France, we've got William. Born around 1028 in Normandy, he became duke at a super young age. Because of his illegitimate birth, he was historically called William the Bastard, and people seriously doubted his right to rule. But William wasn't one to back down. Through pure determination and sheer military skill, he became one of the most powerful and ruthless leaders in Europe. Then, Step 2 drops a bomb on the political landscape. Across the Channel, the King of England, Edward the Confessor, dies in 1066. And crucially, he leaves no heir, no direct successor.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it sets up the ultimate high-stakes showdown. On one side, Harold Godwinson swoops in and gets crowned King of England immediately after Edward dies. But on the other side, William of Normandy firmly believed King Edward had explicitly promised the English throne to him. Imagine the tension here. You've got a newly crowned king on one side of the Channel and a hardened, battle-tested duke on the other who believes his destiny was stolen. William doesn't just, write a strongly worded letter. He gathers thousands of soldiers and sails across the sea to take his crown.
Which brings us to Section 3, the Battle of Hastings, October 14, 1066.
This inevitable collision brings us to the very hinge of English history, the exact moment where the fate of a nation was decided by the swing of a sword. October 14, 1066. It's a date that literally changed the world. William's highly organized invading army finally clashes with King Harold's forces. Historical records show this battle was incredibly brutal, lasting for agonizing hours. It wasn't just a quick skirmish, it was an exhausting, bloody grind for survival and supremacy. Ultimately, the defense breaks. King Harold is killed on the battlefield, and William emerges totally victorious. The Anglo-Saxon rule of England, effectively over in a single afternoon. Just a couple of months later, on Christmas Day in 1066, William is officially crowned King of England in Westminster Abbey. It's a dramatic pivot. A foreign duke is now sitting on the English throne, cementing the definitive beginning of Norman rule. But William didn't just want to wear the crown. He wanted to completely restructure the kingdom from the ground up.
Section 4, the Norman transformation, changing the fabric.
This is where William's true legacy lies. Winning the battle was just the start, and this brilliantly illustrates the sudden structural waves of change he brought. He unleashed sweeping changes across England, introducing feudalism, building massive stone castles like the Tower of London, compiling the Domesday Book, and integrating the French language into English. William didn't just conquer, he organized.
He fundamentally altered the culture and literally embedded his power in stone across the landscape. So, the crucial point is how he managed this control. To keep a vast, potentially rebellious population in check, William introduced feudalism, a system where land is granted to loyal nobles in exchange for military service. He gave parcels of land to his most loyal Norman guys, and in return, they owed him absolute loyalty and troops. It was a strict pyramid of power with William firmly at the very top, effectively ensuring that every blade of grass in England was tied right back to his authority.
Then, just 20 years after his victory, in 1086, William orders the completion of the Domesday Book. Now, this wasn't a book of stories. It was a devastatingly detailed survey of England's land, its people, and its wealth. Why? So William could tax everyone efficiently and aggressively. It was data collection on a medieval scale. It's so thorough that historians still rely on this remarkable record today to study what life was actually like back in the Middle Ages.
But perhaps the most intimate change William brought is one you are experiencing right this very second. The Norman rulers who came over with William spoke French. Because they were the new elite, French became the language of the court, the law, and the powerful. Over time, those French words permanently wove themselves into English vocabulary. So many of the words I'm using in this explainer today exist in our dictionary solely because William won that battle in 1066. It's a cultural fingerprint left right on the tip of our tongues.
All right, Section 5, The Road to Modernity Through the Centuries.
Let's move to and see how this builds. Zooming out of the hourglass, we can see how this newly forged, structured England propelled itself forward. In the Middle Ages, that centralized power saw pushback. King John signs the Magna Carta in 1215, putting limits on royal authority and laying the groundwork for modern law. Moving down to the Tudor period, Henry VIII creates the Church of England, and Elizabeth I launches a golden age, famously defeating the Spanish Armada in 1588. By the 18th and 19th centuries, the kingdom unites with Scotland to form Great Britain in 1707, and under Queen Victoria, this small island becomes the center of the largest empire in history. All of this unified momentum traces right back to the centralized state forged by the Normans.
That momentum carried the nation to dizzying heights and profound responsibilities. In the 19th century, the British Empire ruled nearly a quarter of the entire world's population. In the 20th century, Britain stood as a crucial pillar in both world wars, playing a key role in the defeat of Nazi Germany. Following World War II, colonies rightfully gained their independence as the empire came to an end. Yet, even today, in our modern, decolonized era, England remains a heavy hitter globally, famous for the very royal traditions and historic castles that kicked off with William's conquest.
Which leaves us with one final profound question. Would modern England exist without 1066? Our sources strongly suggest that without William's ruthless ambition, his feudalism, the Domesday Book, and that blending of French and Anglo-Saxon culture, the England of today, and honestly much of the modern world's legal framework, would look fundamentally different. It really makes you realize how fragile history is, doesn't it? A single afternoon at the Battle of Hastings changed the destiny of an entire nation. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive. I hope it helped you see history a little more clearly. Keep learning, keep questioning, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.